Welcome back, Alpha Hunters. Hope everybody had a fantastic week. We are going to have a long weekend because the markets are closed for the week of December the 22nd. We are going to have a holiday weekend, and then we will have a 4-day trading week next week, and then we will have another holiday weekend. So let's just go ahead and get going on what happened this week. So real quick, I will not be on the live stream at all next week. I'm just going ahead and made a decision because I will have family around and other things like that. So I don't want to be kind of waffling if I was going to live stream or not. So just went ahead, said, hey, I'm not going to be on the live stream, but I will get out a market outlook video for next weekend as well. I'll keep my eye on things as normal. You know, you always keep your eye on things. So let's get it going. Nice gap up here on Monday. Kind of just steadily traded higher throughout the day. A little bit of a pullback there towards the end of the day. Nothing crazy. Another nice little gap up there on Tuesday. Nice little run. First part of the day. A little bit of a pullback. Then a slow grind higher into the close there on Tuesday. Wednesday. A little bit of a gap down here, but it didn't matter. Still went higher. First hour. A little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of push higher there into the middle part of the day. And then we started to pull back a little bit. And then on the live stream about this time right here, I kind of mentioned like, you know what, here over the next 2-3 weeks, you know, probably want to be looking to be a little bit more protective, starting to get protective for Q1. I think we're going to have some issues on Q1. I put out a video earlier in the week kind of going over that. I will leave a link at the end if you want to take a look at that. I mean, we're going to talk about something, kind of follow up on that, but kind of mentioned like, hey, over the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to start to want to look to be a little bit more to get protected, right? And kind of mentioned like here is not even a bad spot. It's really not. I did not realize that we were then going to drop 1.25% from me saying that precipitously, kind of into the close. We just kind of just dropped off there. And if you want to kind of know what's going on, well, it wasn't really anything crazy. Really what this was is we just had a month and a half of market bullishness. We just had super extension. Even over the past week and a half, we just kept, you know, you can even see it early part of this week. We just kept grinding higher and we just kept, you know, just kept getting deviated away from the norm. And eventually that's kind of what happens. People just stop buying, and then people don't want to buy until they get like a significant pullback enough. And that's kind of what happened. We just got overextended. And this happens either way, bullish or bearish, you know, but this time it was just kind of more in the bullish direction, and we just kind of hit an air pocket. You know, it didn't, I mean, you don't see major, major volume coming in here. I mean, we did have a step up in volume as we started breaking down, but it wasn't like we had major support levels. I mean, we still, by the end of the day, we barely got down into the area of the 10 EMA on the daily. So it wasn't like we had really good support levels, and that's kind of what happened. You got sellers; they just started coming in, and they started selling. If you're going to sell, you know, maybe $50 million or something, and there's not enough volume, I mean, you just wind up going through a bunch of price levels. So that's kind of what happened. It wasn't really $50 million. It was kind of just, you know, people just started selling, and they realized, wow, we're going through some price levels pretty quick. And once you start triggering other things to start selling, then kind of just cascades a little bit. But it wasn't crazy. It wasn't like a lot of volume. There was some options activity some people were kind of looking at, but you know, you never really understand why certain people are putting on certain positions. So, but yeah, it was just kind of just a big air pocket kind of sitting in there, and we just had a quick snapback. Now, another thing I was kind of mentioning is right before that happened was watch out for probably a quick snapback that we're going to have, probably a quick pullback, and then a quick bounce. Probably coming soon. Didn't realize it was literally about to happen. Now, we did have a nice little gap up there on Thursday. Why did we gap up on Thursday? Well, because we pulled back, I guess, on Wednesday? Question mark, I guess. I mean, that no really other reason. I can't really think of one. Futures kind of traded higher all night. So, yeah, Thursday, nice little higher open. Didn't really do too much. Kind of just, you know, slowly consolidated for most of the day. Midday had a nice little drop, and then we kind of rallied then as we went into the close there on Thursday. Friday, nice little gap up, trading higher, and then we kind of steadily pulled back there. Nice little drop midday, and then a little bounce, kind of ended off the session lows in the middle part of the trading range. It's kind of how we closed there on Friday. So yeah, kind of a weird week, especially the second half of the week. But we did get some pretty good information on some data that we did get out this week. The big one, there's a couple big ones. The GDP quarter over quarter. This is the final revision number for Q3. Came in at 4.9%, which was down from last time it was revised at 5.2%. So that was a downward revision. And then probably the bigger one that I thought we got Friday morning. I mean, some people are looking at core PCE. To me, I don't know why people keep talking about inflation. Like, inflation hasn't been a big deal all year, even though people have talked about it all year. Personal spending, this one dropped off a little bit from forecast. It was a little bit higher from last month. Last month it came in at 0.1%. Forecast was calling for 0.3%. We actually came in at 0.2%. So that's how personal spending was for November. Kind of an interesting week. We'll see kind of what goes on. There's not going to be any data, anything major, at least for next week. So yeah, don't plan on a whole lot kind of going on. So we'll see what the market looks like throughout next week, and then kind of talk about it in next week's video. All right, take a look here at sector rotation for the week. You can see communications outperformer for the week. Okay, we got energies about in line with the market, healthcare a little bit underperforming there, materials, discretionaries, industrials, tech, staples, financials, real estate, and utilities are the biggest underperformers for the week. Okay, kind of just a little bit of a mixture in there. I do know energy prices have been, like crude oil, gasoline, have been hit pretty good here over the past month. So maybe they're trying to base out, form a little bit of a bottom. Take a little bit more time to figure that one out. All right, take a look here at the VIX. VIX is kind of concerning here in a little bit of a way. We did have a little bit of a gap up, kind of not much going on the beginning part of the week. And then Wednesday, when I was on the mic Wednesday before we had that big sell-off, I mean, the VIX was still kind of in line with where Monday and Tuesday were. It really hadn't even jumped up yet. And once we started rolling over the market, that's when you get this big jump. Thursday, it even continued higher, and we actually gapped up on the market. So it was kind of a weird day there on Thursday. You see Friday, as the market was pushing higher, the VIX kind of came back down. So kind of an interesting week there on the VIX. It was almost like the VIX was ready for a little bit of a snapback, just because Monday and Tuesday, while the market was running higher, VIX wasn't really dropping off all that much. And then even last week, with the market making some pretty good rallies last week, the VIX kind of wasn't continuing to drop off. So it was kind of weird that we were seeing the VIX act the way it was. And then there you go, you got a quick snap on the VIX and the market. DXY, the US dollar index, nice spot to not be directional. That's about the best thing I can say. This is a very important area here. We did try to break this down once back in the summer, and then it was kind of a false breakdown, right? We broke it down. We retested it perfectly. I kind of mentioned that was where you wanted to go bearish, but then when we got this day back in July 27th, it basically just took all that off the table, and that was about when I said, yeah, we're going to go on a pretty good run here on the dollar. Well, we went on that run. We've made the pullback, and now we're back into that line here. We've bounced off there a couple times before when we first came down back at the beginning of 2023. Expect us to probably have a bounce. Will we have a bounce like we did late November, early December, where it lasted maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then we rolled over? Maybe, but just expect probably a bounce here. And, if you want to take a little bit of a bullish trade, I like the idea. You're buying it at a pretty good support level. Yeah, so make some sense to me. GLD, or the Gold Trust. Well, I'm going to go to an hourly time frame because this looked really good on Thursday. Really, it was a very nice cup and handle right here. You got this cup, you got this handle kind of formed out there on Thursday. Mentioned that on the live stream. I'm like, dang, that looks really good. Probably going to continue higher. So there you go. There's the pop higher, opened higher there. Look for the pullback. This is probably the pullback into the moving averages, as the moving averages kind of come up here on the hourly time frame. You're probably just looking to be bullish on this. Probably just looking to be bullish on that, as it is breaking that cup and handle. 10-2 inversion. Yeah, you know what? It was a pretty quiet week except for like Wednesday. But even Wednesday, it was a little bit of a subtle kind of breakdown. Then Thursday, a little bounce back. Friday, not too much kind of going on there. It's coming into a pretty good spot. It's had a lot of, this kind of really good support area in through here. And I mean, like, all that is pretty good support areas. It's very much made it through quite a bit of it, but You can see some pretty good tops in here from back in the past year and a half. So yeah, it's a pretty good spot to not look to be bearish on yields. Make the market prove it to you. That's already moved so far. It's moved so far here over the past 2 months. So really make the market prove it to you after it makes big moves like that it's going to get through majorly important levels. And even still, if it keeps going down, I mean, we're going to have a very strong area here in the mid 3.5 area. Very nice basing pattern that we put in back in the beginning part of this year. 10 and 2 inversion. Well, the only thing I can really say is about this week is it started to curl back up, and that's about it. I mean, we'll see what it looks like as we go into next week. Maybe it continues to push up, and then maybe get a little bit of a retest and push higher, but it doesn't really matter. I just kind of wanted to track this, keep an eye on this as once this thing gets back to positive, you're probably looking for major bearishness on the market, and we'll see what that kind of looks like. HYG, nice little false breakout kind of forming today. Kind of see, I got a line here, but it's really, I prefer lines, but really it's just a zone. It's very difficult to say it's just one line that it shouldn't go past that, but nice little spot to potentially look to be bearish here, or maybe early next week if we continue higher, make the market prove it to you, get up above, have the solid breakout, and then take it on the retest back higher. LQD not really doing as much. This week was pretty quiet here on the LQD. Kind of just consolidating. That was kind of what I mentioned before. Just let it consolidate at these levels. HYG obviously is not trying to break out, but the LQD looks like it is trying to consolidate. So if it continues to consolidate, then you probably just want to take that bullish if you do get that breakout probably above 111. So looking pretty good there on the LQD. But if we do start to see yields rise, bonds come back, it could just gone to a pretty good resistance level, and it just rejects off a resistance level. TLT, very nice spot where it kind of rejected right there at that major support and resistance level, right? Very, very strong one. Yeah, I mean, nothing too indifferent from the HYG or the LQD. So just kind of an important spot. It was kind of consolidating, but made a little bit of a push this week, coming back down though, kind of forming a little bit of a upper wick there on the weekly. So yeah, it's going to be one that if yields start to really push higher on a sleepy week next week, there's not probably going to be a lot of activity kind of going on. There's not going to be a lot of data. So if yields start to make some moves, they might put pressure on bonds and other things. So I'd be curious to see what happens next week. We've already seen a lot of movement, very directional movement, that is, really over the past 2 months. And on a sleepy week that we're going to have next week, will it continue? I guess that's the main question. All right, so earlier in the week, I did put out a video talking about how student loans are probably going to look to be an issue in February, March. I will leave that link here at the end. But this 66% of borrowers say they have to cut back on retirement contributions to make student loan payments. So this kind of goes into another little narrative along with that video I put out earlier in the week, kind of talking about, yeah, I mean, consumers, now that they have to pay back their student loans, or student loans are being repaid, people are cutting back. There was some data that came out really over the past couple of months that said, yeah, we saw a lot of drop off in consumer activity in October, and then we also saw some data about how many people are paying back student loans. But this is another one that kind of goes to 2/3 of borrowers for student loan payments, or people that need to pay back student loans, say they're going to cut back retirement contributions. That's a big deal, because this isn't just economic data. This is also money that's not going into the investment side, into the stock market or bonds or whatever it is. So this is just another thing of liquidity that's going to be coming out of the market. And this isn't probably going to end. I mean, it's not like this is going to come back in a month or two. Like, these people are going to be paying off their student loans for years now. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how this goes. If things get really bad, do people dip into those, retirement contributions and pull money out of, said investment vehicles or whatever? So anyways, this is just another wrap up to that video I put out earlier in the week, something that we talked about on the live stream earlier today, or on Friday. RSP, we know it's been on a huge run. Did not make a new high compared to last week. Obviously, you can see it had a pretty good drop there on Wednesday. Not much in between it and all-time highs. We do have a pretty good little price level here around 160 where we've had some tops before back in late 21, early 22. Other than that, I mean, it had a breakout last week. It kind of retested this week into some of those previous highs it had throughout, the previous parts of this year. Yeah, I'd be curious to see kind of what happens here. So there you go. RSP not looking too shabby. This looks like it wants to continue higher as we go into next week. DIA, well, we do know the DIA, the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF, it's at all-time highs. That's all we need to really know. So we don't really need to look back at history to know where the all-time high is, because this is right here. Now, Wednesday, as we were pushing higher before we had that huge sell-off, this thing was hitting all-time highs, and then we had that huge sell-off there on the DIA. So, this looks like it's probably just going to continue higher. We're not going to have any data next week. I mentioned that before, so we're not going to see much reason for the market to really turn over unless people think the market is really extended and people start to get really protective as we go into next year. IWM was hitting new yearly highs on Friday. You can see a nice little upper wick. The only thing that's kind of concerning here is, well, we did that on Wednesday. We had a huge dump off right there on Wednesday. We also threw an upper wick there on Friday up into that area as we were trying to make those highs again. So we did take out the high from August of last year, but we didn't hold it. And I would say that would be a little bit more of a concern because we do have two upper wicks kind of in that same area. It's hard to tell really where that line would be. Maybe like 205. If we get over 205, maybe 206, maybe it would get through this resistance zone. I'm gonna move one of these lines up here. So I would put it up at 206. I'm going to put it at 205 and a half or 205.50 or something like that. So somewhere in there, if we get kind of up and through that spot, I was trying to put it up at the high end there. Maybe we'll see the IWM not find as much resistance anymore. Maybe we'll start to see it continue higher. The triple Qs. All right. Triple Qs. Well, they haven't been doing as well as some of the other areas of these markets recently, but they crushed it in the first half of the year, so it doesn't really matter. These are definitely your yearly winners for the most part. There might be some one-offs out there in the general stock market, but it's pretty hard. It was pretty hard to bet against big tech this year. They did very well, especially in that first half. Yeah, this looks pretty good. We got some lower wicks coming in there on Thursday, Friday, kind of up here. This gray line or light blue line that you see, that's the previous all-time high that we hit back in late 2021. This looks pretty good. Probably just continue to slow grind higher as we go into next week. It's so hard to say, we'll have issues next week just because it'll be a dead week. But that's also when people can move the market around just because there's not going to be as much volume around. Even though they will be full trading days, there's just not a lot of people paying attention, really doing things in the stock market that week between Christmas and New Year's. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of what goes on next week. I'd imagine we probably do continue higher. Maybe we do see the end of next week, we come back down, but I would imagine Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe early day Thursday, we probably do push higher. It makes some sense to me. All right, the SPY. All right. Well, got a nice little lower wick there on Thursday and Friday. Actually, a pretty good doji there on Friday. But we got the moving averages come up. The sell-off on Wednesday, we didn't get below the low of last Friday. So it definitely is not like a change of trend there. We're still kind of trending in that upward direction. So to me, we'll probably just continue bullish. There's not going to be much reason to change that course for now. But I'd be curious to see just how much we do push higher. So this would be the thing I will say. If we kind of go sideways next week and we don't really do a whole lot, maybe it's just like a couple of several doji days, kind of like what we got Friday, but several doji days back to back, Tuesday through Friday next week, I would be looking to be a little bit more bearish on that kind of look, because if we're not just continuing to push higher, I would say people are selling at this level. And as you look back at that 22 to 21 kind of top area, this is about where we kind of topped out. Now we're having several days here. And if you have several days at a support and resistance area, it's just a matter of time before you kind of break through. and then we'll wind up making a run to 480. So those are the two things I really kind of gotta say about this week is watch out for sideways movement, and if we do, we might just break down as we go into the new year. If we wind up pushing higher, I mean, I would imagine next week it'll be pretty light. We'll probably just make a run to 480. We'll hit all-time highs. I mean, if we get up there, anything's possible, especially on quiet week. So, but we'll get a lot of data when we come back in the new year, first week there in January, and we'll kind of see how things are going. And anything major kind of covers kind of happens next week. I'm not going to live stream, but I will bring it up on next week's video. So yeah, other than that, have a great holiday weekend. If you do want to see that video I posted earlier this week about potential issues that could happen in the market, February to March, possibly in April, check it out in the top right there. But other than that, have a great weekend. Happy New Year's. Alrighty, take care, Alpha Hunters.